Hey guys, on my doubleheader today, we've got Bradley Rudsill for Davie County High School, the head baseball coach. Bradley, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Fortunate enough, just talked with Coach Pollard from Duke University, and we joked joked a little bit before. Excuse me. Give me 1 second. We joked a little bit before we got on, and said you had some big shoes to fill. How do you feel being the second part of this doubleheader today?
Those are going to be some big shoes to fill. Like I told you, if you go to a Coach Pollard run practice, everything has a place to be, and you better be there. Very, very structured in everything that he does. They've got a great staff all together, and they put out a great product. As obviously, been one game away from going to Omaha last year. So
Right, and they were rocking and rolling this year. He had a lot of expectations, and I could tell very meticulous, very structured. And hey, that's why you're sitting at Duke, being the head coach. I mean, you got to be special to get there. All right, let's get with you. You've got a pretty good little program down there in Davie County too, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so I took over as a head coach last year. Kind of came in, I think October 16th, actually the day after my birthday. Um, and from day one, those guys were ready to roll. They wanted to work. They had higher expectations than what they were living up to previously. And I think I came in and they had won 9-10 games, set around the 500 mark in the CPC, which is a very tough conference with West Forsyth, Reagan, Glenn, East Forsyth, Reynolds. So 500, that's all right in that conference, but we had higher goals. And from the weight room to some mental toughness type stuff to just how we're gonna compete on a daily basis. We kind of set that mold there, and we got off to a really hot start. Played Carson, who ended up going to I think the Final Four last year. Beat them in the first game. Beat East Rowan, who is always good in baseball. Coach Hightower down there. West Rowan, was able to beat them. Alexander Central always got a tough program. Actually, the former coach that I coached under, Pete Hardy, is the head coach there. So I like to, play against teams that I know are gonna, be tough and put us in a good direction toward the end of the season, because our last conference series is with Reagan, who has three of the best players in the nation, with Josh Hartle, Carter Boyd, and some of those guys. So, we've got to be ready to go. And that series actually turned out to be, the conference championship. We were able to beat Hartle game one, 2-1. So that left us a winner take all conference championship at our place. Stands packed out, and we had a really good turn of events. They put in a ECU commit, and he hit our leadoff guy, and that just kind of got the ball rolling. And I think we scored like 8 runs in the fourth inning, and was able to roll from there.
Wow, man. Sounds like you recall so much of that. Oftentimes, I've coached with guys before that can remember every play and every, what everybody was doing. Is that what, are you kind of like that? I mean, you got a really sharp memory when it comes to where people are at and what they're doing?
Yeah, I definitely think I do, and I think that's something for me to be able to recall. Hey, this is how we worked, and this is what I feel like made us successful. And at the high school level, you've got the JV, you got varsity. Well, those JV guys aren't always in the dugout, especially during games, to really know, hey, this was the attitude in that dugout. So I feel like as a coach, you have to be able to have that mindset to be able to relay some of that information on to them. Hey, if you want to get to this point, this is the way you've got to conduct yourself.
Right. And who would you say some of your mentors were that you learned that from?
Pete Hardy. He's at Alexander Central. Got voted into the North Carolina Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame 2 years ago.
He's a really cool dude. I mean, nice guy, right?
Danny Higgins, he's awesome. Awesome. He demands, your best every single day. I joke around and people are like, it's 20 degrees outside. Why are you practicing? Well, 20 degrees at Watauga was a normal day and we would be practicing. There would still be a little bit of snow on the ground and we'd have, the yellow dimple balls out there taking BP. And, while other, mountain teams are not practicing. So, that work ethic and that, will and desire to want to get better every day, definitely came from him. Danny Hignite at Providence. He also was a former coach under Coach Hardy. So, really a lot of the people that I bounce ideas off of, we've all been around the same people. So we kind of know, we put our own, little spin on things, but we're all kind of growing from the same tree there.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. And if you were to say two or three, let's say two things that you took from them and kind of molded into your own thing, what would that be?
Coach Hardy was definitely just work ethic. Outwork the next guy because you don't know what the next guy's doing. So it's up to you to outwork that next guy. And as being a head coach, you can control that. Coach Hignite, when I took this job, he probably said the thing that everybody should know, but you really don't think about it. He looked at me. He said, "Rudy," he said, "just enjoy it." He said, "Enjoy what you're doing. Don't get caught up in the wins and losses. Don't get caught up in the ups and downs. Enjoy what you're doing and do it for the right reasons." And, I think that was, really before I'd ever stepped foot on campus. I didn't even know what kind of players I was going to have. But, his words were enjoy it.
That's good. You got to enjoy that ride. Right? Sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah. You got to enjoy that ride and that process of getting there. That's, how long were you assistant coach before you got your first gig?
I was an assistant coach at Watauga. Went to my alma mater at Bandy's. I was at Watauga for 3 years. Went back to Bandy's. I was there for 2 years. I went to Montreat and I was the pitching coach and recruiting coordinator there. Head coach resigned, brought in a new staff, and you know how that whole situation at the college level goes.
Right.
So I actually went back to Bandy's. I only was there for a year, and I took the head coaching job at South Point in Rock Hill, South Carolina, home of Jadeveon Clowney and Stephon Gilmore and, Football USA down there. So.
And just because I know the coaching salaries compared to North and South Carolina, man, that was a tough move, huh?
Well, Rock Hill is set up a lot like North Carolina. Coaching salaries are, a certain percent, and in all of Rock Hill District 3, baseball coaches were going to make what baseball coaches make. Football coaches weren't going to have these $100,000 salaries and boosters paying for this and that. Now you go into some other areas and you can make a ton of money, but I didn't have the fortune of going into that area, but I did love it. Obviously, just the championship culture in that school. with football, I was there for, a state championship, and, that was really fun. Was there, we won our region in baseball. That was really fun, and we didn't have the best players, by far. But, they just had that championship kind of mindset about them, just from being around other high quality athletes.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. You're hitting the keyword mindset, and that's what we talk about all the time here. So let's get into it. 90, you said earlier 90%. Is that the number that you would put on baseball mindset? How mental the game is?
I would say that, I would say it's probably closer to 100%. I would go 95% if, I had to put a number on it. The old saying is 90% mental, the other half physical. But, you know, then I also look at that and, what am I doing to, cultivate that mindset, the mental game aspect of it? Because we all know, as coaches, that that kid that comes off the mound that's given up, a few walks and a few hits, and now the game's kind of completely changed. Well, what are you going to do? What does that kid have in his pocket to say, hey, I can get over this and I can, support my team for the rest of the time, because probably not going back out there. Or that hitter that's gone 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, what does he learn throughout, the fall and into the spring to help him cope with that, to know that, hey, you might have another at bat coming, and that might be the biggest at bat of the whole game. You never know. Baseball's, you know, it gives you so many opportunities and gives you so many opportunities to redeem yourself. You've got to have that kind of mindset of, hey, next man up, next time up. So,
Yeah, that's good stuff. You mentioned, and this is what I got out of this. You talked about having something in his pocket, and Coach Pollard today said this. And I think it's just kind of raining through, putting a tool in his tool bag. What kind of
mhm.
mental tools or suggestions would you have to put into your pocket or into your tool bag to say?
The biggest thing is, and I got this from Brian Kane, obviously, but the whole flush, side of it, and a lot of people say, that's just something to say. Well, not really. If you really think about it, after you've made a mistake, after you've, struck out in a big situation, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, after that situation. So flush that situation, learn from it, and go into your next at bat, or even talk to your teammates about, hey, this is what happened there, and give them that tool. I went and saw one of my pitchers throw last week, and that was, literally one of the things that I told him. I said, hey, maybe get a notebook, and after every inning, just jot down some notes of how you felt. What pitches were working at the time, what weren't, what pitches weren't, where your fatigue level was. I said, because you can't begin to truly train if you don't know where you're hitting that wall at. So, just having,
Right.
reminders, when I go back through games, through the week, you know, I need to have some stuff wrote down. I don't need to just, sit there and harp on the, negative things that happen in a game, but also let them know, hey, this is what we really did well. And, if we can continue doing this well, then, we're going to be successful. And then obviously, the imagery stuff, and, them seeing themselves be successful. And, the biggest thing that, me and my assistant coach, who's, quote unquote, the hitting coach, is, you know, having that approach. And today, I feel like, that word gets thrown around so much. Approach, approach, approach. Well, I'm not sure that kids truly know what an approach is. They say, hey, I'm looking for a fastball inner third of the plate. Well, if you're looking for that, then why did you take that pitch, that first pitch?
Right.
Um, so, teaching them, hey, this is your mental plan, but you're going completely away from that mental plan once you get in the box. So, really harping on, especially during BP. Hey, what's your approach right here? We're going to give you a scenario. It's a 2-0 count. What's your approach? What are you trying to do? And if we see a excuse me swing in that situation, well, hey, hop out of the cage. Let's talk about it, and we'll get back in there, and you can prove it again. But I feel like, especially in practice, you want to get so many reps, but you never really want to talk about it or fix something. And with the mental part of it, that's something that, I can pull you out and talk about it really quickly and then get you back in there and get you taking your reps again. So,
Absolutely. But and as a high school coach, you have to think about this. They don't know what you said, the approach. They don't know what an approach is. So what would you tell them? What is the approach? Like, how can you explain approach to a ninth-year-old kid or ninth grade kid who's never heard that word?
We actually have a classroom setting in the fall, and they probably hate me for it, but it's almost an everyday thing. Whether we're going over defensive stuff, sometimes we'll just bring in pitchers, sometimes we'll bring in everybody, and we might talk for 45 minutes just on approach. And when I'm explaining it to them, I said, say we're going to Charleston. I don't give you a roadmap. I take away your cell phone. How are you getting there? You just gonna drive until you hopefully hit Charleston? I said, or before, are you gonna try to make a plan to hit these marks at certain times? I said, that's what an approach is. It's a roadmap to get you to be, successful. And, I feel like sometimes they understand it and they grasp it, but then when you put it into the baseball context, it's like, well, how do I put in a roadmap to my at bat? Well, you have a roadmap for when it's 0-0. You have a roadmap for when it's 0-2. What are you going to do in that situation? Because that approach 0-0 is completely different from what your approach is 0-2.
Right.
And what are you doing in your own mind to slow your heartbeat down, to relax, and to still feel confident knowing that, hey, it's 0-2, or vice versa, it's 2-0. Well, you don't have that fast heartbeat. Well, how are you staying in the moment? Pitchers. And I think that's a big one is, as a pitcher, how do you stay in that present moment? How do you go pitch by pitch? Because I feel like as a pitcher, and I coach the pitchers, and one of the things that they always talk about with me is, especially in bullpens, is they want to look 2 and 3 pitches ahead. Well, if you don't make pitch 1, well, pitch 3 is completely different because we've had to change our whole mindset.
Right.
So just trying to get them to stay in that one pitch at a time, one play at a time, and it's hard, because especially as a fielder, hitter, you make a mistake, you're looking for the next time you get the ball, which might not happen that game. But you've got to be constantly ready every single pitch and stay in that present moment. So, one thing that our guys do is, the Prestep Hop. And I want to see it every single time, whether we're taking BP and guys are, at their positions, I better see that. And
just elaborate on that a little bit. What do you mean by the pre-step hop?
A lot of people talk about creeping and creeping on the pitch, and in that situation, a lot of times you end up with your weight on, one foot or another. With that pre-step hop, you're landing, 50-50 and move either way. But I really feel like mentally it says, hey, it gets your brain thinking, hey, I'm focused in on this one pitch. I'm not thinking about, I just struck out to end that inning with a guy on third base. No, you're back into the defensive side of it where you should be at that point. If we need to
Yeah.
talk about something offensively, I'm not going to come out to the mound to talk to my second baseman about what he did, in his last at bat. You we've got to learn to be able to move on from that.
Yeah. Present moment's huge. We have a whole section on that. I think my buddy's about to cut grass, so it might get crazy in here. I might have to cut it a little more short than I thought. But I love that you're training that pre-step hop. Like it clears their mind and it puts them into present moment. That's a good job, Coach. And did you learn that from Coach Hardy, or was that something you picked up somewhere else?
No, that was really something that it was from, I guess it was Florida softball. I think they were kind of the first ones to really do, or no, it was Auburn softball. But, you know, at first I didn't really get it. I'm like, okay, well, what happens if you don't time that hop up correctly? And, essentially it's not a hop. You're not getting, way above the ground, but it's more of, okay, hey, I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready to go. And that's really the biggest thing. And with baseball, I feel like it's moved so much into, hey, how can I get this immediate gratification? I get a hit and everybody praises me, but I don't get a hit with that guy on third base. I'm like the outcast of the group. We're trying to get away from the immediate gratification to, hey, stay in the present moment. You'll get gratification at some point if you just stay in those present moments.
Yeah. It's almost like, and this is going to sound totally crazy, but it hit me a while ago when you're talking about it, not the pre-step hop, but pre-pitch. If the kid, and this is going to sound ridiculous, if they could take their phone out, swipe Snapchat for 10 seconds and get back and lock in, it'd be perfect. The kids they did love it because they wouldn't have to worry about what they did wrong. And that's just something that hit me out of nowhere. I know that's not feasible. It's not going to happen, but they need that something to take their mind totally away. And we know that phone's going to do that, right?
Yeah. And, that's why I use the phone a ton, especially communicating and that kind of stuff. Heck, I think I sent my guys over Christmas, a video of guys doing a pre-step hop. I said, hey, get in front of a mirror, do it, or put a game on the TV. You can go on YouTube and bring up a College World Series game, and just for an inning, every pitch, do that pre-step hop. Or, as a hitter, write down what you thought that hitter's approach was in that situation. I mean, you don't know. You're watching it. You can't talk to them, but if I at least know that, hey, you're working on that kind of stuff, then it's really going to help us out.
Right. And they may not have been able to long toss or get BP thrown to them over the pandemic, but they could have done something, right? And I'm sure you connected with your team to let them know that. All right, I'm going to give you a situation to kind of end it up here. I got the look earlier. I think he's about to weed eat, so
You're good.
I don't want to mess him up because it's not my house. So the kid's at the plate, and the umpire totally screws him. All right. Now, this is a different situation than, striking out and taking it back to the field. Now, this guy's a little bit heated, and he's a little bit more mentally unstable. How do you helping that kid out?
Really being able to have that rapport with all your kids. I think that's the most important thing, as a coach, from player one to player, I think we had 23 guys on the team this year. As the coach, I've got to be able to communicate effectively with all 23 of those guys and getting that guy to understand, hey, yeah, I know you're mad. I'm probably upset too. But at the end of the day, there's absolutely nothing that we can do about it, in the past tense. All we can control is what happens, right here in the present moment.
Present moment.
Are you going to take that situation out into the field and not be focused, and that first ball be hit to you and you're kind of mentally not there, and now we've turned one negative situation into two negative situations. Now I've got to get you reeled back in, off of the second situation. So being able to talk to them, and I think that's where not only myself but my coaching staff, I think we all have a really good rapport with all of our guys. And if I can't get a hold of them and talk to them, then one of them will.
Right, and that's what it boils down to: relationships and knowing your players and having that relationship, having them come back, being a family. And it looks like you guys are doing that. I mean, a lot of success. I really appreciate your time today on the show. I've learned a lot from you. And if there's anything at Baseball Mindset we can ever do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll shoot you a free mindset call, whatever you want to do. We'll work it out.
That sounds good. I look forward to it.
Coach, enjoy your pitcher. I know you're going to go watch him play, and take care. Have a great day.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Coach Rudsill, Meeting of the Minds. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.